Dr. Miyawaki was a botanist based in Japan that had seen that there were a lot of urban spaces and pavement going in, cutting through natural forests. Essentially in Japan, people were only planting trees for beautification, and so they were bringing in non-native species that look pretty but really do nothing else. So he said, hey, how can we address this? Humans are killing the planet. We can't just stand by. We have to do restoration. We have to do it in an accelerated way. How do we build accelerated forests that are healthy to repair what we're doing? And what he wanted to do was come up with a method that would help restore nature. So he developed this method, which is an accelerated form of afforestation, so we can grow a 100-year-old forest in about 25 to 30 years. So he has this wonderful system that we are following now to create these tiny forests. You choose plants that are naturally found in this region and for this soil type. And because we're on the Just Food community farm, there's a lot of native edibles. It essentially boils down to first understanding what plant communities naturally occurred in this region before humans intervened and got in the way and destroyed some of them. So if you were designing a tiny forest using the Miyawaki method, you'd want to know which of these naturally grow together in the wild. There's actually a subset of plants and trees that like sandy soil and some that like clay soil and do better in that. If you're in an urban area, a lot of times the soil isn't what was naturally there. We have compacted and degraded urban soil, and some of the sites we worked on this year, there wasn't soil left. It was removed and fill put in, and there was just enough soil there to be able to plant a lawn, but certainly not enough to support a tree. There's quite a collaborative thing happening under the ground through that mycelial network. And when we talk about tiny forests and building plant communities, the community that gets created in the tiny forest is chosen because we know that those trees and shrubs and forest floor interact very well together, because we have examples of them doing that in the wild. The next step of the Miyawaki method is actually to do soil preparation. And that is, if you don't have enough soil, bring some in, but also amend with so much leaf mulch and straw and even moisture holding things like coconut coir, a little bit of manure, some trace minerals, dig it and mix it together. And ideally, you're also adding in mycorrhizal inoculant so that you start to have some beneficial fungi that is going to help those trees and plants receive and fetch the nutrients and water that they're going to need to support accelerated growth. All right, so we've done field investigation, soil prep. Now what? We prepare a planting plan. You're using native species, and you're planting 3 to 5 species per square meter. You're trying to randomize them somewhat, but you're also making sure that you have some canopy species and some understory species together. because that works towards them having a healthy competition with each other as they grow up in the first few years. The very smallest tiny forest you can have needs to be at least 4 meters wide, so this is a 4 meter by 4 meter square. In each square, you would plant 3 to 5 species per square, so that's very densely planted. But by the method, we prepare the soil so that it looks like a 100-year-old forest floor to the plants and trees that we're planting in it. What do we have on this farm? Heavy clay. So we do amend to make it feel like a 100-year-old forest floor that's had leaves dropping for hundreds of years and lots of available food for all the microorganisms that live in the soil. And then we plant very densely, so we create a healthy competition between all of the different things that we've put in. Planting day, it's very exciting to plant one of these spaces because, as you can imagine, it's pretty tight going. And a really important aspect of Miyawaki Method is to engage the community. Make sure that the people living near the urban forest that you're about to put in are participating and helping, because you want them to be stewards of that site. You want them to care about those trees and really feel like they were part of creating that space. It means that the survival of these plants in this community will naturally be higher because we know we have humans caring about the site. And then finally, we mulch this heavily, just as you would see walking through a forest floor. We want a fluffy, light, spongy mulch layer that keeps, the weeds at bay, but also all of those beneficial organisms living in this forest floor that we've prepared stay cool and moist, which is the kind of environment they really like. We've talked about the first steps of the Miyawaki Method. The final one is maintenance. For the first 2 to 3 years, the maintenance stage means a little bit of visiting, eyes on the site, water, weeding. But the idea is we can grow a lot of our own foods around this region, and we can do it in a way that actually helps restore nature too.
There's a lot of edibles that have been planted. We have cherry trees, plum trees, apple trees, pear trees, certain berries, and
shrubs, lots of shrubs.
Yeah.
What he said, it makes sense, because I mean, we're all going to benefit from it, but you have to come together.
We're into that part of the season where it's getting wet a lot, so I'm hoping the weather takes care of it. A lot of people in the building are home cooks, like to make pies and stuff. I mean, with the pears coming and the apples coming in the future, I could see a lot of that happening.
It's for everyone. Together you aspire, together you achieve.
I think what she's trying to say is this is for everybody to enjoy, and I think it's going to be a great benefit for a lot of people in the building.
You name mine.
Watch my cherry tree.
Now guess what? What happens if you fail? And it takes 100 years to get a 100-year-old forest. Well, that's okay too, because you've planted and restored nature. It's not a failure, it's just a slower forest. I would encourage anyone who sees that they have little spaces, especially in urban areas and lots of heat islands and problems with that kind of thing, to look and see where they could put and restore a little bit of nature. It helps us as humans, but it helps all of the creatures that are attracted to these spaces as well. And that's the method.